A punitive expedition had been created in 190 AD by a coalition of regional warlords and officials of the empire against the warlord Zhuo that held the emperor hostage and used his influence to control the imperial court. The purpose of the coalition was to remove Zhuo from power and liberate the emperor. However, many of those same warlords and officials that founded the coalition had their own desires for power, leading to distrust and confusion within their own ranks, allowing for more destruction and disunity within the Han Empire. After the death of the Shang brothers in 184 AD, the empire still suffered for many years the devastation of the Yellow Turban movement. During that time, a huge rivalry erupted in the imperial court between the eunuch faction known as the Ten Attendants and Yi Jin, the brother-in-law of the emperor and general-in-chief of the imperial forces. This conflict escalated when, in 189 AD, Emperor Ling died, making both parties to seek the guardianship of the late emperor's son, Liu Bian, the future Emperor Zhao of Han. Yi Jin and his sister, Empress He, the mother of Emperor Zhao, held the regency of the empire. But the Ten Attendants still held a great influence in the court and a strong army in the capital. This was due because of the late emperor's distrust in the He family and their lust for imperial power. Yi Jin began a campaign in the battlefield of politics against the eunuchs, with the aid of the prestigious Yuan family. When an assassination attempt led by the Ten Attendants was averted against Yi Jin's life, the eunuch responsible for the attempt was executed, and the majority of their army was passed to the command of the He family. With their power substantially decreased, the Ten Attendants began to seek refuge in the Empress Dowager, Empress He, that gave them protection against Yi Jin. By the suggestion of his advisors, Yi Jin called upon Zhuo from Liang province to camp with his forces in the outskirts of Luoyang, so to make the Empress Dowager drop out her support of the Ten Attendants. Confident that he had beaten the eunuch faction, Yi Jin entered in the palace at the request of his sister. But the call was a lie created by the leader of the Ten Attendants, Zhang Rang, that used the opportunity to kill the general-in-chief. When Yi Jin's subordinates, Yuan Shao and Yuan Shu, heard of his death, they stormed in the palace with their forces and began a massacre of the eunuchs, setting the palace ablaze. The remnants of the eunuch faction kidnapped Emperor Zhao and his younger brother, the Prince of Chenlu, and ran away from the palace. It was by this time that Zhuo, arrived at the outskirts of Luoyang and was able to retrieve the sons of the late emperor back to the palace. When Dong Zhuo and his army entered in the capital, he was presented with a unique opportunity. A power vacuum had been created due to the conflict between the 10 attendants and Yi Jin's forces. And with both contending parties being now leaderless, Dong Zhuo used his control of the emperor to merge both forces to his army. Having such a strong and vast host, Dong Zhuo eliminated all initial opposition in Luoyang, taking Emperor Shao to the palace as the sole figure of authority. By bribing and intimidating the court officials, Dong Zhuo quickly cemented his position in Luoyang that led to his great proclamation in 190 AD. He proposed the replacement of Emperor Shao in favor of his younger brother, Liu Xie, the Prince of Chenlu. He wanted to do so to be able to better control the imperial throne by installing a younger emperor. Most officials dared not confront him, but he found strong opposition in Ding Yuan, the inspector of Bing province, against his plans. He had also been called by Yi Jin to aid in the struggle against the eunuch faction, but arrived after Dong Zhuo had taken the capital. Although Ding Yuan's army was smaller than Dong Zhuo's host, he had well-trained troops, as well a strong warrior as his right-hand man, Lu Bu. Daring not a direct clash against the army of Ding Yuan, Dong Zhuo resorted to bribing Lu Bu into betraying his master and join his ranks. With Ding Yuan dead and Lu Bu at his side, Dong Zhuo felt strong enough to depose Emperor Shao and installing the Prince of Chenlu as Emperor Xian in 190 AD. Yuan Shao, seeing the unstoppable rise of Dong Zhuo in Luoyang, fled the capital to avoid hostilities. This greatly disturbed Dong Zhuo because he feared that Yuan Shao might rebel against him under the banner of the deposed emperor. So, to counter such intentions, he ordered the assassination of Liu Bian and his mother, the former Empress He, as well giving to Yuan Shao the title of Grand Administrator of Bohai. This didn't appease Yuan Shao, that started to form a revolt against Dong Zhuo. But without proper support, the Yuan family couldn't stand up against the central government. It was only when Cao Mao, Grand Administrator on Dong Commandery, forged letters against the tyrannical rule of Dong Zhuo to several warlords of the empire that a proper expedition could be counted upon to complete such a difficult task. So, in February of 190 AD, the rallied regional warlords met in Angu Pass to form the Guangdong Coalition, to remove Dong Zhuo from power and to stabilize the imperial capital. With Yuan Shao as the appointed leader of the coalition, their plan was to cut off supplies from Luoyang by encamping in strategically important positions, so to not let any goods enter in the imperial capital from the east. Such a plan was conceived because even if the coalition forces numbered around 100,000 men, they were made out of inexperienced troops and peasants, not able to contend against the smaller but experienced and well-equipped frontiersmen of Dong Zhuo's Liang army. For several weeks, Dong Zhuo tried to hold the city of Luoyang by using scrupulous tactics, such as the melting of several important statues and treasures to mint more coinage. But by April of 190 AD, Dong Zhuo decided that the best strategy was to move his base to the ancient capital city of Chang'an, along with the entire population and court. He faced strong opposition, but nevertheless he implemented his plan, leaving only his army to defend their evacuation against the coalition armies. Then, by his master's orders, Lu Bu commanded the raiding of many ancient tombs and burial mounds, so that Luoyang could be set on fire and razed to the ground. Cao Cao, by this time serving under the banner of Jiang Miao, saw an opportunity to attack Dong Zhuo's retreating army. So he called upon the coalition leaders, but with no success, only able to get the aid of one of Jiang Miao's retainers, Wei Zi, to march alongside him to attack the retreating imperial army. Upon discovering Cao Cao's intentions, Dong Zhuo sent one of his best generals, Zhuo, to intercept him at the Battle of Qingyang, where he dealt a major defeat to the coalition forces, killing Wei Zi and injuring Cao Cao in the process. Being able to retreat thanks to the aid of his cousin, Cao Hong, Cao Cao tried once again to call Jiang Miao and the other warlords in his position to march against Dong Zhuo. But seeing the futility of his attempts, Cao Cao led his forces to join Yuan Shao, leaving the warlords under Jiang Miao to fight between each other, until they dispersed due to the lack of supplies. Being able to reach safely to Chang'an, Dong Zhuo tried to negotiate an armistice with Yuan Shao, but he declined all offers, killing many of Dong Zhuo's emissaries. In retaliation, Dong Zhuo attacked Wang Guang, one of the coalition warlords, in his camp north of Luoyang, leading to such an heavy defeat that he permanently left the coalition. With the coalition forces dwindling, Dong Zhuo decided to launch an offensive by the winter of 190 AD into one of the most powerful warlords of the coalition, Yuan Shao's half-brother, Yuan Shu. Sun Jian, now serving under Yuan Shu's banner, went into the defense of Luoyang district from Dong Zhuo's men with 20,000 troops. The imperial forces, only numbering 10,000, upon seeing the strong discipline that Sun Jian's men had, retreated. For the next months, Sun Jian trained his army, until in March of 191 AD, he marched north, where the imperial forces were. There, he was caught off guard and outnumbered by Zhuo at the Battle of Liangdong, losing the engagement and hardly escaping the enemy encirclement. Sun Jian regrouped and awaited the enemy offensive at Yangren, where Waxiong, Hu Zhen, and Lu Bu arrived with 5,000 soldiers. Due to many conflicts between Lu Bu and Hu Zhen, Sun Jian was able to sally out in a surprise attack that sended the Imperial forces in a rout, capturing and executing Hua Xiong in the process. The several military successes of Sun Jian made Yuan Shu wary of his growing influence, fearing that he would become too powerful if he captured Luoyang. Yuan Shu blocked the supplies to Sun Jian's army. Sun Jian was furious over this decision, traveling overnight to Luoyang to confront Yuan Shu, blaming his advisors for going against the true goals of the Guangdong coalition. Ashamed, Yuan Shu resumed the delivering of supplies to Sun Jian. With these supplies restored, Sun Jian began his final push towards Luoyang. Dong Zhuo tried to persuade Sun Jian by sending his subordinate, Li Jue, to offer an alliance, but he refused, reaching to his last obstacle before Luoyang, the fortified pass of Dagu, south of the imperial city. Dong Zhuo himself fought at the Battle of the later Han Tombs, but was defeated by Sun Jian, having to retreat west of Luoyang. Upon reaching the former imperial capital, Sun Jian faced against Lu Bu that was awaiting for him. Although Lu Bu's army was an elite fighting corps, they were heavily outnumbered by Sun Jian's forces, retreating after a small-scale melee. One of the objectives of the coalition had been reached. Luoyang was secured, but without any military support from the warlords, Sun Jian was vulnerable against any offensives from Dong Zhuo in Chang'an. So upon discovering the long-lost imperial seal in a well, Sun Jian left with his army back to Luoyang. The former imperial capital was abandoned by the contending parties, left in ruins. Despite the efforts of Sun Jian in occupying Luoyang and driving the imperial forces back to Chang'an, the Guangdong coalition was more divided than ever. They began to expand their own territories instead of attacking Dong Zhuo in the west. Quarreling between each other and isolated upon current events, the warlords in the east had lost all ambition in liberating the emperor from Dong Zhuo's influence. Yuan Shao and Han Fu proposed to enthrone the inspector of Yu province, Liu Yu, to the imperial throne, but met strong opposition in Cao Cao and Yuan Shu that objected such idea. Liu Yu himself refused the offer, turning any rally in the warlords upon a new banner impossible. The coalition would essentially die when Yuan Shu, upset with Yuan Shao's lack of assistance in Sun Jian's offensives and still receiving the prestige as the appointed leader of the coalition, that insulted his half-brother, calling him the family slave, due to Yuan Shao's mother being from peasant stock. Insulted with such remarks, Yuan Shao sent his general, Zhou Yu, to attack Sun Jian and take his position as inspector of Yu province, a title that had been given by Yuan Shu. Both brothers' armies faced each other at the Battle of Yangcheng, with Zhou Yu being able to make a surprise attack on the city and capture it. But when Sun Jian counterattacked with the aid of Gongsun Yue's army sent by Gongsun Zan, that had sided with Yuan Shu in this conflict, taking back Yuan Sheng from Zhou Yu. This battle escalated immensely the destruction of the coalition, since Gongsun Zan blamed Yuan Shao for the death of his cousin, Gongsun Yue, at Yangcheng, declaring war against him. Both sides fought at the end of the year in the Battle of Jiekao, with Gongsun Zan sending his elite cavalry, the White Horse Volunteers, to charge Yuan Shao's thinly spread vanguard, only to fall prey into their shield-walled formation and a shower of crossbow bolts. This engagement proved indecisive into resolving the war, and by 192 AD, the coalition lived in name only.